Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where we review movies and TV shows and all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. And again, this is a spoiler review for episode 2 of the new Disney Plus series, Loki season 2. This is episode 2 spoiler review. So if you have not seen this show, please pause this, give me a thumbs up, go watch episode 1 and 2, and check out my episode 1 spoiler review. Come back, watch this, and let me know what you think so far of Loki season 2. So, y'all been warned, this is the spoiler. So, let's get into it. Episode 2 starts off with Morbius and Loki in London in 1977 looking for Brad Wolf / X5, who is a TVA member who just abandoned it because he felt like that it didn't make sense because this was all not real to him. They learned that he's just a variant of this, and that's why he ran off. But he knows some stuff, and Loki and Mobius and B-15 are looking at him because he knows where Sylvie may be at. And before I continue, I just want to say I felt like there was something missing, like a scene that was cut in the opening of this. And I did feel like this episode wasn't really lined up correctly, but I just felt like then I maybe had to do with like the writer strike, and maybe they weren't able to do reshoots. But nevertheless, it's really good episode. But that's what I kind of noticed out of this, that there's just some parts in the some scenes that didn't line up. But maybe just again they didn't have time. But that's where I got out of this through this whole episode. But I just want to make that clear. That's what I got, but I still think it's a really good episode. Now, after the two finally catches him, and you gotta think it was really cool. Brad Wolf X5 is, became this famous actor. He's living in it, but I didn't know. I'm not sure because they didn't mention or nothing. But I don't know if he, got rid of that variant version of himself or tied him up. Or maybe that's his actual timeline of where he was taken away before he was a TVA soldier. I'm just not sure, but I was kind of hoping they did explain that, because the way they explain this, there's different variants of yourself, and that's why they try to be sneaky with going to different timelines and arresting somebody. That's the whole TVA's thing, is doing this quietly and not noticeable, but I think it just didn't add up, so I was kind of curious. So, I hope maybe in episode 3 they kind of explain it, but that's why I was saying, I felt like there was a lot of scenes cut, or it wasn't making sense, because I felt like that shouldn't be hold too long unless they got something really big with that secret of them just not really explaining it in that episode. Now, after they, like I said, they finally catches him, and they finally, after a long torturous of torching, playing good cop, bad cop, they finally get the answers out of him, and he explains that Sylvie is in Oklahoma, Braxton in 1978, I believe, and they showed her what she was doing and how she got the job at McDonald's in Oklahoma there, and it was really cool. It was really funny, and she wanted to try everything. She pretty much ate everything on that menu at that time, and I thought that was pretty funny. But after they found her, we get this heartwarming moment between Loki and Sylvie, and they're just trying to talk it over, and Sylvie doesn't want nothing to do. I think she's just done, and she wants to be left alone, and she's obviously hurt, and I think they showed in this episode that Sylvie somewhat feels guilty. She knows in her heart that maybe she shouldn't have stabbed He Who Remains / King the Conqueror. And I think she knows in her heart that she should have done it. She probably should have listened. But in her mind, she's hoping what she did is the right choice and it stopped everything. But that is not the case, because after that, we learned that X5 / Brad Wolf, he knew that, well, he didn't know, but Sylvie found out using her powers that General Dox is going to blow up bomb all the timeline branches, and which she successfully did, even though they all came down and fought them and tried to attack them. But there was too many other TVAs who have loyal to General Dox and bombed every timeline, and we watched that. But we also get in this episode that Obi was working on a machine to help put all the timelines back into place. And at that time, we see B-15 and Casey go, and Casey finally met OB, and he says he's a big fan, in which they mention that TVA handbook, which, again, I think is something very important. I believe that has all the answers to what they're looking for. And what I like about that is we're seeing two characters like becoming best friends, and these are the two like employees who read the handbook and memorize it and follow the rules and follow each work process step by step by step. And they're like not popular, but they're kind of like just kind of nerdy. And I think that's really cool, because what I like about this is, like, look at other people who've admitted, like, no, we didn't read the handbook, but they rely on that technology, but they're having a hard time hacking into like TVA stuff. And Casey just like, oh yeah, this is in the handbook. Look, this is how you do it. And now they have Renslayer's DNA, and they know where she's at. They can track her. But see, that answer was in the TVA handwritten book. It's like, it's like anybody else's job, you know. You have the handbook of the rules and all the information that you may need, right? But, you know, just like life, some people just don't read it. I don't. So that's what I really like about those two. And again, if it wasn't for them who read that TVA handbook, they wouldn't figure out how to activate and find Renslayer's DNA. Now they can track her, because they've been defeated, because now all these timeline branches have been bombed. So at the end, after all that, you know, Sylvie still does not want to help. She just wants to believe that what she did is worked, and she went back to her timeline, or the timeline she chose back in Oklahoma in that 1978, and just worked at McDonald's. And at the end, we see that she actually has created a bond and friendship to some of the employees. So there was even a young kid or a young teenager working at McDonald's, and, you know, getting a ride back, you know, getting picked up by his mom. And you can see that she's kind of like the big sister. So she kind of created a friendship or a bond with a lot of the people there. And she's actually happy, but so she's also deep down. That means she's deep down inside scared to lose this, because, you know, in this stuff, it might not, her working at McDonald's might not be a big deal realistically, but it means a lot to her. And she doesn't want to lose this, because she feels free. She feels normal. And obviously this is a timeline where they don't know that she's, you know, a god. You know, she doesn't know her brother's Thor. She does, you know, they don't know that. She knows that, obviously, but it just shows that now she's caring and she's scared to lose that. So there's a lot that's been this episode that they're setting up, that, you know, now from episode 3 and up, that a lot of this stuff, a lot of people are going to lose a lot. A lot of these characters are going to be heartbroken, because things are going to get destroyed or taken away. I can already tell certain characters are going to be killed off. And it's very interesting for making episode 2 this. Like, hey, you know, already it tells me like this is going to be a season where everybody on this show who's trying to save every whatever they're trying to save or try to accomplish, it's going to be failed. Like it's like He Who Remains is already on this. So, there's a lot. So to me, what I like about this episode, even though I feel like it was kind of off. I feel like maybe they should have cut this out, but I'm not going to complain too much about it. But I do understand the message that this episode, again, is setting up that a lot of these characters that you're seeing who's doing their best to do their part, they're all going to fail. Like, I think they're going to be defeated even more worse. And General Dox is helping making sure that the TVA crumbles, but there's some stuff we're gonna talk about. So let's get into some topics here. So let's start with the first topic: Renslayer's location. So we know that after Sylvie took one of the devices from the TVA that can help track Renslayer to find her location, and so I feel like Sylvie's gonna go out for revenge. And what that tells me that season 1, when she went out for revenge for He Who Remains and she stabbed him, I think season 2, this is where she doesn't repeat history. I think she learned from her mistakes, and this time, as bad as she wants to get revenge and like literally get rid of Renslayer permanently, like to death, I think that she's gonna have a change of heart, and she's gonna walk away and not kill Renslayer. And I think we're gonna have a moment in one of these episodes where she does that, and she shows Loki that she does have a heart. She can change. She proves to everybody that just because you told her that this is her path, her destiny, that's not true. So there's gonna be a moment like that going to happen with Sylvie, and I think Renslayer is obviously in her mind the bad guy to Sylvie, and again, this is gonna be but Marvel could also throw a curveball at us, and Sylvie makes the same mistake and gets Renslayer like that. So who knows, honestly? But I think I want to believe that this is where Sylvie, becomes the good person. She doesn't make the mistake again. I guess the bad choice or whatever. With same thing with this too. Back on this topic as well. Like Loki is only looking for her location to defeat He Who Remains, because I think he knows and realized that that was a bad idea. He knows that He Who Remains, King the Conqueror, is a huge threat. He sees that this was all a setup, and Loki is trying to beat pretty much He Who Remains at chess. That's literally the whole plot of this show. Is Loki understands this, and he's trying to beat him at chess in the sense. And Loki can't tell if he's a step ahead of him, or is He Who Remains a step ahead of Loki and the other TVA members. And that's the big challenge, and I think that's one of the big mysteries so far, is like who's got who one up. And honestly, I think this is what reason why Loki is gonna fail, because I think He Who Remains is always gonna be a step ahead of him, because I think Loki knows that his plan, He Who Remains plan, is succeeding. So he's trying to figure out what's the next phase in his plan and how can he stop it. And I think there's some big challenges, and the reason is the TVA's falling apart, and I think the idea is Loki's going to be the one, or at least one of them trying to rebuild a TVA and get everybody on the same page, but it doesn't look like that from episode 2. Now let's talk about General Doc. Now, I think the question is with her, is she solo or is she loyal to He Who Remains? And I don't know who, but if it's solo, I think obviously she wants to rule the TVA, and she has her own hidden agenda of how they're going to rule the timeline branch and multiverse. Now, she's loyal to King the Conqueror, He Who Remains. I think that she is in contact with Renslayer and Miss Minutes, because we know Miss Minutes is helping Renslayer. We know that. And so some way, somehow, He Who Remains is getting all this information, and he's staying update to what everybody else, including Loki, is doing at the moment. And bombing all the timeline branches is like, a lot of the people who's helping, like Loki and Mobius, they care, because even though there's variants of each other, it's still innocent people, and you shouldn't kill them. You shouldn't destroy their whole life like that. And, General Dox and her loyal soldiers don't care. They're just blowing it up, like, have no heart. They're like monsters, because it's like killing people in the sense, and it's how the TVA looks at that, and they don't want to do that. They just want to put everything back into place, because they understand the consequences of going in time or in the future and changing something that should not be changed. And we understand that from Avengers Endgame, and we learned that with like the Hulk and stuff. That's how it's still playing. I really appreciate that they're still dedicated to that. Now, the last topic, the TVA guidebook. It's the hand guidebook, I should say. Now, I think this whole time, all the answers that they're trying to figure out are in this. How to how to access something, how to overlock something, how to get access without having He Who Remains DNA, or find a way to do without Miss Minute. I think all the answers are in there, and it just shows that I think the big message too, and a lot of these shows have a lot of big messages, but one of them that I'm seeing stand out is that, technology may fail you, but books won't, because all the answers are in books. All the information you need is in books. Informational books, like this guidebook is like their Bible. Like, anytime anybody who works at the TVA has this at their desk, basically. And that's the high thing. So I also think, though, about that is, I think He Who Remains purposely put that there. I think that's a setup too. I think his plan is to let them think or regain the TVA, because I also think that this is going to be like Thor Ragnarok, where it's just it's always going to be destroyed. Like, I think the TVA has been destroyed about 1,000 times, and I think that He Who Remains set it up where all their memories get erased and they just start over again. Like, I don't think this is the first time this situation happened. I think this situation happened multiple times, and I think it's just on loop, on repeat. And I think that's how the TVA is run, because they don't know where they're from, they don't remember where they're originally from, and they don't really understand what's going on. All they know that is they just been in the TVA their whole life, and that's what they're brainwashed in a way to think that, because that's how they're set. So that's why I think that this is another big part of the big plan for He Who Remains, who's up to something, and we don't know what the plan is yet. So obviously to conquer the world and multiverse, but to see it unfold, I don't think they're going to show that much, but hopefully they show Kang the Conqueror / He Who Remains, or just a variant version of him, because what is he? I mean, we're only in 2 episodes in. They may show him in episode 3. Who knows? But other than that, I think there's a lot of potential. I really like this episode, but I think season 2 of Loki, a lot of these characters, all of them, I was going to be honest, all of them are going to fail. I think the bad guys are going to pretty much win this season. And I think it just shows how much of a big threat this character is. Because you have to also think, like, Loki doesn't know what happened in Ant-Man Quantumania, just like Ant-Man doesn't know what's going on with Loki and the TVA. You know, if you think about it, season 2 happens after Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania movie. This happens after that movie. And, defeating him or trapping Kang the Conqueror down there or defeating him causes a huge consequence. And now a lot of innocent people are going to die, like he said in Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania. Kang the Conqueror said that. And I think since that happened, I think there's actually a bigger effect that's affecting Loki season 2. Because I think also that really caused the timeline branch to really split the most too. I think there's 2 reasons of it. What's going on from season 1 and what happened in that Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania movie. With those 2 situations happening, I think it caused the tree branch, timeline branch to affect like that. So that's what I think. But that's my review. If I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm definitely giving it an 8. Great episode. I really enjoy it. What I said about it earlier about just it being kind of off, and I feel like there were some scenes cut, but I'm not nitpicky about that. I think that can just be forgettable. But that's my review. Thank you so much for listening to my review. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official channel. Subscribe. Hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you and peace out.